Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video, and well, there's so much to cover in today's show that it is frankly silly. There is big WoW news, a big beta key giveaway, and I've got something to fill you in on, and I've not been as excited for a weekly check-in as I am for this one. Some of you know that I started a game studio in 2015, and I really haven't talked much about it since 2015, but we've been busy, and today, I finally have big news to share. And I'm back. Hell, I'm even in a different chair. Why? Well, this is where the game development goes on, and what you just saw is extremely early, really early pre-alpha environmental footage. You're going to learn more about the game over the coming weeks. Why? Well, we've got onto the UK Games Fund Transfuser program. It's, well, the core of it is 10 weeks long, and it ends at EGX this September. And it's got one big opportunity to get a bunch of development done and then show it off at a major convention. It's going to be a hell of a challenge, but I think we're ready for it, more than we really ever have been. You're going to see a lot more of the game over the summer as we vlog the development process. We'll be showcasing some of our features, and really you'll see us creating the foundations of what will be our first major project. So where's the game set? What do you do? I'm going to reveal more about that stuff over time. I'll just say this, it's a wholly fictional setting. You will carve your path through the world as you build your own custom mechs. You'll be unlocking new chassis and modules, customizing it, upgrading it, building it. You'll get into massive battles with hulking kaiju of many different nasty varieties, and things will get really wild. But no spoilers. You'll learn more about all this as time goes on, but it is worth saying we're in early development. Giving you a release date is impossible. It is a fairly long time off. The best place to follow us is Coffee Box Games on Twitter, and there will be showing art, animations, glimpses into the dev process. Hitting us up on Twitter and following along with the project would really mean the world to us and really help kick us off strong. It's going to be a very exciting time, and you will hear more from the project next week. Okay, I'm back in my usual perch, and that means that it's time to talk about World of Warcraft. And to kick it off, we have a beta key giveaway. Blizzard have thrown me another 100 keys. The competition ends at midnight Central European Standard Time this coming Wednesday. To enter, hit up the link in the video description and show me your favorite place in World of Warcraft. Get arty. I want a really nice screenshot. Nail that framing and show me how much you love the world. So that's the beta key giveaway. All right, it's news time. There is a new build for the BfA beta, and one of the things they put in was character copy. Now, to me, this basically just indicates we're a lot closer to having a mostly complete 8.0 on beta servers. The only remaining piece of the puzzle is level 120 pre-made characters for class testing, but overall, it is apparent that BfA is nearing completion. There are still loads of bugs, including some in dungeons, which you might have noticed if you've been watching Preach's recent TDP episodes. Now, many of those bugs, they've existed for ages. I'm kind of inclined to believe that they have an internal build of the game with a lot of that stuff fixed, but it is kind of odd that those fixes are not on beta yet. Now, on the class front, we see a lot of refining, a lot of polishing, loads of blue posts, so probably there'll be a final wave of all that with SV, balance, frost, arms, few other things. Really, it's not foundational changes, it's just sort of iteration, and we're really getting to the point where it's getting close to when I'll be doing my BfA class review series. But anyway, we mostly have a complete picture of the expansion at this point. Honestly, I think I could do an early kind of review for it in a month, to be honest. Okay, let's move on to Warfront progression. As I mentioned, a bunch of new systems are in the most recent beta build. Warfronts are one of them, sort of. We now basically know how the overall system works, so there are a bunch of daily quests that you can do that involve handing in gold and crafting materials. Past that, there is a repeatable quest to hand in, but that requires war resources, which is BfA's version of Order Hall resources. Now, you'll get these from the usual types of content, like world quests, so really the Warfront system itself, it's working kind of like the Broken Shore buildings. When the Horde owns the Warfront, the Alliance will be able to turn in resources via these quests in order to supply the war effort. When they reach 100%, the Warfront will be open for a few days, and then the Alliance will own the Warfront. At that stage, then the Horde will have to gather resources, and this is how it will continue, sort of tick-tock throughout the expansion, and this is something that eventually will be added to, with new Warfronts once we're done with Stromgarde, but again, there's no real details on the specifics of that. Next, it's time to talk about lore and the weakness of the Draenei. Now look, I like the Draenei. My main character was one from multiple expansions, but they have a bit of a problem. They just keep on getting wrapped up in corrupting causes. First the Legion, and now seemingly the Naru. Mild spoiler alert, in some new datamine broadcast text, we are told of how the Naru blind them with fanaticism and subject them to light forging. Now this is interesting because being light forged, it's more than just getting a job. It's a process that physically impacts the recipient. It changes them. We're told how the Naru seek to control the universe just like the Legion does. Now this is all from the perspective of people who are being hunted by the AU Lightforged, but I think it's fair to say the Magcar Orcs, they are kind of good guys, and it's an interesting question. How much control do the Naru have over the Lightforged? Can the Naru impact their thoughts and desires, or even whisper to them like the Void does? If so, I wonder what that means for the Alliance Lightforged that we currently have. Maybe they'll go over a pretty major plotline involving this, especially in the next expansion, where canonically the Naru will have begun to just roam the galaxy while they've got no Legion to contest them. That's super interesting, and it seems like Blizzard are doing some clear plot foreshadowing here. Now, when we combine the strained relationship between Turalyon and Ilaria in the last episode, in the last video that we covered, this could have the makings for a pretty damn thematically dense and character-driven plot that I'd be really excited to see, even though I know that a lot of people do want it to be just Void is bad and pure evil, and Light is good and pure good, but to be honest, I do find the more mixed up version of things to be more engaging. Next up, we've got some shiny stuff. There's always some of this to look forward to in new builds of Battle for Azeroth. The Kultirans have a new Druid flight form that's very much fitting in with the rest of the Druid forms. It's pretty damn nice. And we also have some new Night Elf armor, and I'm using this as a bit of a springboard. It's kind of interesting because Blizzard have done human and orc racial armor quite well, but they've not really bothered to give the player options in terms of the other races. Now, Night Elf Sentinels have got some of the more iconic armor in the game's lore when we look at it historically, so I guess here's to hoping that Blizzard makes some of this available during the next expansion, and just broadly I'm kind of using this to nudge Blizzard towards doing that. I think players would really enjoy it. And next up, let's talk about how your artifacts are going to be dead. So artifacts will be disabled in BfA as represented by a new UI. Now, technically there are spoilers here, but it's kind of strange because the cinematic that leads to artifacts being like this, it's in 7.3.5 and it just hasn't been activated yet. So I'd imagine we're bound to get that pretty damn soon. But anyway, that's how your artifact dies, including the legendary fishing rod, or the artifact fishing rod. As for legendaries, they die past level 115, which makes me wonder, would a level 111 twink with 3 legendaries, including a Pantheon one, work? I'm not really sure how the item levels will work out, but with the just appearance of 101 twinking in Legion, that's absolutely going to be something that I'm paying attention to as we move into the start of BfA. Okay, next we've got the big simultaneous release. So, EU guys, I'm afraid the Americans finally do have launch parity with us. So unlike previous expansions, BfA is going to launch simultaneously in every region at the same time. Blizzard have made a handy map of how this translates into your local times. So, as always at the EU, we've got a pretty late night. That's not going to change. Team America get the expansion at a far more comfortable 3 p.m. Pacific time, but don't worry, anything can be overcome with pure life choices such as staying up all night, going to bed at noon, waking up at 8 p.m. and then playing World of Warcraft for 24 hours straight when it comes out. I don't have a problem, honestly. Next, we've also got a potential pre-patch date. We can, with a little bit of inference, kind of work this out. So, Blizzard have announced the end of World of Warcraft's 32-bit support, and they recommend upgrading before the 1st of July 2018. Now, 32-bit support doesn't just magically disappear. A client patch has to happen for that. Now, this client patch is almost certainly the patch 8.0, which is, the pre-patch. Now, if this pre-patch was to release 5 weeks before the X-Pack release, that would be the 10th of July, and if it was to release 6 weeks before, that would be the 3rd of July, which is super close to the 1st of July recommendation that Blizzard have issued. Now, the pre-patch will likely kick off with the first part of the Burning of Teldrassil questing, then also the accompanying wave of world quests, so it'll be kind of interesting to see as well, I suppose, if those world quests can be used to level up alts like the Legion Invasions. Anyway, the rest of the Burning of Teldrassil and Battle for Lordaeron will probably roll out over the following weeks, but all of that said, we don't have a PTR, we've got no announcements, so this is probably something I'd say we'll really learn within the next 2 weeks, because this thing has got to hit the PTR really damn soon. And next, let's talk about the Mage Tower. So Blizzard are planning to open the Mage Tower constantly until the end of Legion. This means that you will not have to wait for the normal Broken Shore progression, and you can pretty much work away as you please. So I would recommend just gearing characters up right now, and then bothering with the towers once they're fully unlocked. For me, this is especially nice because I barely get to play retail these days. I'm super behind on everything. I've barely raided all expansion, and I've had so much less time to play than in recent expansions. Just because of all the game development work that, I covered at the start of this video. It really does eat up time, especially as the team has expanded, and that's, it's the sort of thing I've got to bench what I want to do in-game for, holding up the team and all that stuff. But that said, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to get the stuff that I want. I'm really glad that they're not nerfing it, most importantly, and this does open it up so that people, who can defeat it, but haven't yet, they're not going to be, zoinked by their own personal schedule getting in the way. So I think it's, a pretty nice move, Blizzard. We also have a quick update to the community tab. It's been updated again. I don't really have much else to say about it that I haven't said, really. I think it's a brilliant feature, and I'm really excited to set something up for all of us once the expansion kicks off. And there is also the new VoIP, which is fully built into the game. It kind of works with these, but it also works with Dungeons and Raids, where once you enter an instance, you're prompted to join the instance voice chat. And really, there's a lot of potential for that to work, but we'll have to wait and see. It could also kind of go sideways. Maybe it could kick off a new era of embarrassing, vent rage compilation video style things, which, I'd be totally down for. And finally, we've got to kick it off with the most important bit of news, really, in many years of World of Warcraft, and that, of course, is Hager. Because anyone who's been telling you that Hager's dead has sort of been lying, but it wasn't their fault, they didn't know. So, in the Stormwind extraction scenario, well, it turns out the Hager that we thought we locked up is actually not Hager. It's like a gnome or a goblin in a costume, because we see the costume. Now this means a few different things. Either Hager has been dead for years, and the Cataclysm revamp was all a ruse, and he's just the original Hager from vanilla, his head's still lopped off, and he's dead. Or Hager's out there, Hager's alive. Maybe Hager is a Void Lord. Maybe Hager is an allied race. We will probably never find out. Actually, could they say that Meatball, the follower, is actually Hager? Maybe retcon that, do some weird stuff where it turns out we've been questing with Hager all along? I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, I thought it was a nice little thing that I'd throw in the end of the video. So that's the crack with Hager. That is what is going on with the game company stuff and the game that we're making. You'll find out more about that next week. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this pretty packed episode of the news, and I will see you next time.